Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome to a video preview, or maybe a video review of Dovetail Games Flight Sim World. Now, I just want to sort of state for the record that I have spent probably the better part of 10 hours or so within Dovetail Games Flight Sim World. I have been flying computer-based flight simulation programs for over 30 some odd years. I started back in the early 1980s on the Commodore 64 on a flight simulator that later became Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I sort of came up through the ranks of all the various flight simulation platform or flight simulation applications that Microsoft released up until FSX. FSX was the last sort of full-blown official flight simulator. I won't get into kind of what my opinions is of Microsoft Flight, which was technically the last thing that they did. But anyway, with FSX, P3D was born, and then of course that has sort of evolved into Dovetail Games. Dovetail Games got the rights to market FSX, the Steam version. I know a lot of people took advantage of that and have been having a ball of a time flying on the Steam version of FSX. Well, this is their sort of their latest entry, or the latest entry into the whole flight sim genre category of applications that have debuted or come out in 2017. I wrote a blog piece just last week about how I felt that 2017 was going to sort of go down as the year of flight sim, just because Lockheed Martin had released the 64-bit version of P3D with version 4. X-Plane came out last year with a 64-bit version, X-Plane 11. We've got Dovetail Games, Flight Sim World. This is also 64-bit. So a lot of good potential, because a 64-bit application, without getting too deep in the mud about that particular subject, will basically just leverage today's modern hardware much better, and you don't have all of the out-of-memory kind of problems and such that we have been plagued with for so long. Now, I wrote a blog article, and I will link it down below this video, that will take you to my blog, grizzlybearsims.com. And it is the review, sort of my official review that I wrote about a week and a half ago about my experience with Flight Sim World. And I really did try to approach it with the sort of respect of not comparing it with every single thing that I did within the game itself back to either P3D or X-Plane or FSX or what have you. However, my experience is rather robust in the sense that I have been flying all of these various simulators. I tend to prefer P3D prepared, and I'm just having a ball of a time with the new 64-bit version 4. It is so remarkable. It is so wonderful, and I can't wait to start bringing you some videos here on this channel with that flight sim platform. Just to sort of get a few things out of the way, Flight Sim World, Dovetail Games Flight Sim World is sort of in a alpha, somewhere stuck in the middle between alpha and beta. It's in an early access release form. Much more inclusive, though, than maybe some other early access titles that we sort of know about. And if you pay attention to my channel, I'm sort of talking about cattle and crops. This is a fairly complete sim, albeit that there's not a lot of add-on functionality or mods available at this particular point in time, and I'm really not sure how that's going to evolve and what all that's going to mean going forward. It does sell for $24.99 via Steam. I have a pretty good feeling that that is the early access price. Is it worth 25 bucks? I think it is, especially if you are brand new to the hobby of flight simulation, or maybe if you were interested in flight simulation maybe back in the FS9 days, or maybe even older than that, and you've been out of it for a little while and you really don't know where you want to sort of start applying your investment and everything, whether you want to go the X-plane route or whether you want to go the prepared route, or whether you want to take your chances and see what this platform is going to basically do. For 25 bucks, I think it's well worth it, because there's some tutorials that can kind of help teach you the basics of flight simulation especially, and it does come with about six or so default aircraft, which are actually quite nice for default aircraft. Dovetail Games have done a remarkable job. The modeling and everything of these aircraft are superb from a visual perspective. Maybe the flight dynamics aren't necessarily study level that we would see with, say, an A2A type general aviation aircraft, or the more sophisticated PMDG jetliner aircraft. And just for the record, currently there are no jet aircraft models available within the default setup within Dovetail Games Flight Sim World at this particular point in time. This is obviously the successor to FSX. And of course, those of us in the hobby, those of us that have been sort of following what is going to happen with our wonderful hobby since Microsoft sort of got out of the flight simulation business, this has been sort of the hopes and dreams that we have put into that. And I will just reserve judgment and just remind you that it's still early access and everything. Dovetail is committed to basically listening to the community and also working with third-party developers as well. So that is all wonderful news. It is obviously a 64-bit application using DirectX 11, which is fantastic news. And also just a little bit of history here. Dovetail did license the entertainment version of FSX from Microsoft versus Lockheed Martin licensed the more commercial side of the ESP platform from Microsoft. So that's kind of the difference between those two versions. And of course, we've been expecting this version of Dovetail Games Flight Simulator to come out since really about 2015. That date was pushed to 2016, but it has finally arrived. So I'm not going to go through the settings, screens, and all that kind of stuff. I know other people have done that. Perhaps my video is probably 2 weeks or more late as far as really getting out there and to try to beat everyone else. That's not really what I'm about. I would rather give an honest, open opinion to something versus, I've seen some videos where some guys that have been that I might consider hardcore flight simulation enthusiasts, maybe like myself, have really been talking bad about this particular application. And I really don't have anything but good news for it. I mean, am I going to basically state my future of flight simulation on this particular title? Probably not. I'm leaning more towards the P3D, the version 4 64-bit, only because I already have a large investment, a substantial investment in add-ons, third-party mods, etc., which are going to work just fine with that platform. I really don't want to, have to start all over, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't done much with X-plane. Well, let's just sort of get started here. We're in our aircraft, and we are on the runway 17 left, which is my home airport next to me. I did a video, the first flight sim video that I brought to this channel. Basically was I departed from this airport in the A2A Cessna 172 in P3D version 4, and so this is the same airport. Obviously the textures, everything that you're going to see is obviously all Dovetail Games. This is all default, so there's no add-ons, no mods. I've got the scenery, graphic sliders and everything maxed all the way out. My 980 Ti 6 gig graphics card handles it very, very well. And let's get started. So we'll go ahead and ease the throttle up. And that was my bad, that little glitch there with the throttles. And we're off the ground. We'll go ahead and raise the landing gear. And we'll go ahead and make our turn. Now we're heading from Centennial Airport, which again is Kilo Alpha Papa Alpha, over to Front Range Airport. And I'm not worried about flying visual flight rules, VFR flight rules, etc. We're just kind of flying around so you guys can kind of get a feel for what things look like, how this aircraft actually behaves. And unfortunately, because there's no add-ons available for it yet, there's really no. I talked about FSU IPC not too long ago. That's sort of a universal mod that most everyone uses within FSX or within P3D, and there's even one available for X-Plane that does so much to enhance our experience, including some calibration tools for our hardware and such. So this is just basically my yoke and pedals and throttle and everything connected directly to Dovetail Games Flight Sim World, and using the in-game calibration, which is not the best in the world, but you know, again, if FSU IPC would come available for this, I think that would be wonderful. I'm going to jump out of the cab here, or the cockpit. Been driving a tractor today a little bit with Farm Sim. So all of this is default. Again, the ground textures and everything, it's all default scenery. This is exactly what it would look like, pending that your graphics card would be capable of handling this particular type of a view. The ground textures are complements of or sort of part of the Orbix scenery. So if you're familiar with Orbix and stuff, with FSX and P3D, then you know what I'm talking about. And so this is a lot better eye candy than what you would get from, say, the default version of FSX, either FSX Steam or the boxed edition of FSX. And even arguably, the ground textures might even be better than what you would see with even P3D, with the default P3D, because really Lockheed Martin really didn't change much with regards to P3D, the 64-bit version. Most everything is still very much that they have sort of incorporated over from FSX. But of course, there's ground textures and stuff that we can get as add-ons, third-party add-ons that basically give us the same kind of view, and that you'll be seeing that stuff later on down the line as we progress with bringing Flight Sim into the Grizzly Bears Sims YouTube channel. Now again, $24.99 via Steam. You know, I don't get a dime or a cent or anything from your purchases of this. I'm just featuring it on my channel because I think that, again, if you are sort of new to the hobby, or maybe if you've been in the hobby for years and you're looking for a way to sort of get back into Flight Sim, to brush up your flying, your virtual flying skills and everything, this would be a good investment for you. Just in comparison, to get into X-Plane 11, you're looking at about a $50 bill, and also to get the academic license of P3D, you're also looking at a $50 bill. So this is about half of that, half the price of that. Of course, there's no, right now, because there's no add-ons available, there's no third-party mod support. There's not any way at the present time to get Flight Sim World connected to any of the multiplayer environments like VATSIM or IVAO or FS Cloud, etc. Again, that could change. Hopefully that will change, because I think that especially as more add-ons would be made available for this particular application for Flight Sim World, I think that people would like to have the opportunity to interface multiplayer type environments where you've got real ATC, etc. That's adding to the immersion levels. There is quite an extensive mission and testing, or training is the correct word that I would want to use there, training system within Flight Sim World. Basically, if you might remember, about a year ago, Dovetail Games released Flight School, and I purchased it and did some of the missions and some of the training and everything, just to kind of brush up my general aviation skills, my VFR skills. There is, by the way, there's Denver International Airport just off to our left there. We're just going to kind of skirt on by that. Again, we're not flying under any specific VFR. If we were playing by the books, we would not be flying this close to Denver International Airport. But again, we're just kind of playing around here and letting you guys see some of the eye candy. So I'll pop back out of the thing there, let you look at the aircraft there. Again, very well modeled on the for a default aircraft. I mean, even the default aircraft in P3D are not modeled that nicely. Again, the flight dynamics are not necessarily true to life, but as I tell people on that watch my farm sim videos, you know, I'm not a real farmer. I'm not a real pilot. I'm pretty darn good at getting to the airport and knowing when I need to take my shoes off and take my belt off and all that kind of stuff. But outside of that, that's about my experience. And you know, so with that in mind, I really don't know if these type of aircraft fly correctly, or if they don't. You know, even the more study level aircraft like the PMDGs and the A2As, etc. I'm not knowledgeable enough in real world aviation to tell you whether, you know, they're flying accurate. I trust the developers. I trust the real world pilots that have tested these things. But still, for me, just a hobbyist that just has a passion for flight, for aviation, and such as that. You know, I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy what this hobby has brought to me, the experiences and everything that I've had. I've met, you know, just like Farm Sim, I've met some really incredible people over the years, and I've been doing this a very, very long time. Of course, like I said, I got started with Flight Sim back in the early 80s, but you know, that was all before the age of the internet, and really it's really been since probably the mid to late 1990s that, you know, this thing has sort of evolved into a community type driven environment. And of course, the multiplayer networks like VATSIM and IVAO have been around for quite a long time. I've been flying with VATSIM on and off since the year 2000, so for 17 years. I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5,000 hours, I believe, accumulated on the network. That's not, you know, that's certainly not a record-breaking amount of hours, but for someone that's as busy as I am, that kind of tends to go, you know, from sort of one simulation-based game to another, and right now I'm really enjoying Farm Sim and Truck Sim and such as that. So, you know, I fly when I can and when I have time. So here's the Front Range Airport. We're just going to come in here, and I'll try to make a fairly decent landing of this. Our peppy lights there over to the left, we want 2 whites and 2 reds. That's sort of right on the glide slope, and I'm just a little bit to the right of the center line there, but that's okay. I fly about as well as I back a tractor, so you know, but I enjoy this. I enjoy this hobby immensely. I don't get all caught up on you know, doing everything perfect in textbook. While I do like the realism and everything that these type of simulation-based games provide to me or to you, if you're experiencing them, I don't. You know, for me, it's all about the fun. It's all about the journey, and we're going to be all right. Hopefully, we'll land and be able to live to see a different day. But again, $24.99 on Steam. If we're obviously not in the center of the runway, but again, that's okay. We got down on the ground. All right, everybody is going to live here. I appreciate you coming along for the ride, and I just will have to work on that. And that's all part of what this is about. This is you know, this is probably, and I've said this on my channel before, and I'm not by no means am I putting down, by no means am I putting down you know, ATS, ETS2, or farm sim. By no means am I doing that, but this really, in my opinion, this is the example. If you were to look up simulation, based game or simulation based program in the Webster's dictionary, the example that you're gonna see is gonna be flight sim. And as a matter of fact, a lot of us hardcore flight simmers, we don't like to refer to it as a game, because it really is much more than that. It's a hobby. It's the immersion, the realism, and everything. It's exactly what you put into it, like with everything else. And so, but if you are sort of on the sidelines and you are looking at getting started with flight simulation, and if you've not been in it at all, then I would say for $25, what you will learn from this, the experience that you will gain from the missions and from the training and everything, will help you regardless of whether you go with X-Plane or P3D, or you basically stay with this platform. Regardless of that, you're gonna learn so much from that. Now, of course, if you have been in it for a while, if you have any amount of money sort of invested with either X-Plane or even with FSX and P3D, then perhaps your money is going to be better spent with P3D, especially the 64-bit version. But again, this video is not really about that. I'm just throwing out some potential ideas for you. But look for more videos to come on the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Probably not a whole lot with Flight Sim World, just because I am as more add-ons are released for P3D, then clearly I'm going to be spending most of my time flying in P3D, and I know I'm not parked correctly, but that doesn't really matter. Again, this was just sort of a fun flight for me to kind of talk about Flight Sim World and kind of give you guys a bit of an overview of it without getting too deep into the weeds of it. Flight Sim World automatically tracks your time. I've got 2 hours and 33 minutes in this aircraft. Obviously, the Mirage is one of my favorite here in the game, and so as a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to this one being released for P3D for the 64-bit version, because I've enjoyed flying it here in Flight Sim World. But anyway, I hope that, again, if you're interested in getting into Flight Sim, if you have questions, I would invite you to contact me. You can reach me by emailing me at grizzlybearsims@gmail.com, or you can also leave a comment down below the video screen. I'm also trying something a bit different as well. I am using, what am I using? I'm using Discord. I have a small Discord server that I'm logged into pretty much, well, as much as I have free time, and in the last couple of weeks I haven't had a whole lot of free time. But I've set this up, and I've got basically a Grizzly Bear Sims channel. And if you have questions, and if you want to sort of text, I'm not on voice very much, just simply because during the day I am busy. But if you want to pop in, if you want to go to grizzlybearsims.com, you'll find my Discord thing over on the right-hand side, and if you click that, I believe that will take you to my channel. You can pop in and say hi, and if I'm available, and if I'm not swamped with something else, I'll say hi back to you. And if you have questions, or you just want to say hi and chat with me, you can obviously use that mechanism, and we'll see. We'll try it. I'm not gonna commit to always being on Discord. And again, most of the time I'm gonna just be available via text. So don't think I'm ignoring you, or that I'm being rude if I don't want to speak to you via voice. It's just that's a little bit harder for me to do. But if you have a question, you can text me, the question in the chat, and then I can, when I have a minute or two, I can text you back, chat you back, and give you the answer if I know the answer. But in any event, just something new I thought I would try to help as many of you out as possible. I've really enjoyed the hobby of flight simulation, and as I said, I've been doing this for quite some time, and wow, has the hobby come along so far. If you want to, as a matter of fact, the video that I'm going to link to down below will show a YouTube clip. I can't show you the YouTube clip on this channel because that's somebody else's YouTube clip. But there is a YouTube clip in my blog post that shows you what the Commodore 64 version looked like when I first got started with Flight Sim, and let me tell you, it's come such a far way. But amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys watching all my videos, whether you have come to my channel for Farm Sim or you come to my channel for Flight Sim. And yes, there are AI traffic as well. I'm glad that we sat here long enough. So there is a little, well, sorry about that. There is a little, I believe, a Piper that is getting ready to taxi and take off, or no, a Cherokee there. So you can, we'll watch that for just a moment. But there is a little bit of AI traffic flying around, so that's kind of cool. And trust me, the AI traffic is about as crazy in Flight Sim platforms as it is in Farm Sim or Truck Sim, but they do seem to do a little bit better in Flight Sim than they do with Truck Sim and Farm Sim as far as the AI traffic is concerned, not necessarily the AI workers. But the AI traffic, the cars and stuff that's running around. So thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate that. And again, if you have questions, let me know. That's the one thing why I do my channel, is because I want to help you all. I want to help anyone. There's the beautiful Rocky Mountains there in the background. That's sort of out my window almost every day in the office. But if you have questions, that's why I run my channel. So thank you all so much for watching. I know I've said that a couple of times now, but I really do mean it. And if you have questions, just drop me a note. And until the next video, whether it be Farm Sim or another Flight Sim video, I wish you all a wonderful day, and God bless you all. Take care now. Bye-bye.